weiß Bescheid. Entiendo.
Welcome to All Caribbean Entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. This is episode number 30. Oh my goodness. How did we reach 30 episodes already? Happy 1st of September 2021. Boy, has the time flown. I feel like this is a recurring theme. You know, where is the time going? The fact that we've woken up this morning and it is September 1st already. I feel like 2 weeks ago was March. But you know what? Again, when you're having fun, time flies. And I mean, at this time, during, you know, with everything happening in the world right now, it's just amazing to be alive, to still be healthy, to be able to serve the community and be doing something that allows to bring the community together here in the Caribbean. So I thank you everybody who is a part of the Digipreneur FM family. Again, without you guys, this would not be possible. So today's episode, what are we talking about today? Well, I was sitting down and I was taking in my good friend Latina Mata's True Growth Through Growth podcast. And she was just talking about some life lessons that she learned while going through a recent allergic reaction that required to get some medical attention. I was just listening to that, and I was thinking about some of my own life lessons that that I have gone through, and that I have learned through this business journey. And I mean, there's been quite a bit, and I think what I'll be doing over the next couple of episodes is while I'm going to be teaching you guys, digital entrepreneurship, e-commerce, becoming discoverable. You guys know the stuff that we talk about, right? I'm also going to be putting in a bit more personal experiences as well, to kind of solidify some of the things that we talk about, but give you guys some real life perspectives that I have gone through. And of course, as always, we're going to start getting back some more guests on the live show and then bring it to you guys on the podcast family as well, right? So, I mean, those things are going to be coming up soon. So today while I was sitting and listening to the podcast, one thing that came to mind was why becoming a business content creator was a great business decision. Now, when it comes to creating content, we don't just create content for the sake of creating content. Content has its purpose. And one of the number one purposes that content does is it establishes yourself as a thought leader. And it also builds community. Creating content forces you to, take stock of what is happening within a respective space and speak to it, right? So whether you are the one doing the teaching, or whether you are, facilitating, whether you've created this space and you are bringing in other experts and whatnot, and you've created that space that foster that community, content does that for you, right? But it's been a great business decision for me, and I kind of wanted to go through some of the reasons why it was a great business decision for me. So I sat down and I was like, okay, you know what? Let me list out, 5 reasons as to why. And it ended up kind of turning into a bit of a brain dump for me. And just, kind of just reviewing it, I was like, you know what? This is really becoming a content creator and focusing on digital entrepreneurship. This has really changed my life. This has been able to provide me with a livelihood. This has been able to allow me to do my own inner work, kind of find my own sense of my own purpose. Like it's done a lot. It has really done a lot. So let me kind of go through. I've kind of broken it down into 5 ways that becoming a business content creator has helped me, and let's go through it. Let us go through it. So the first way this has helped, this has been a great business decision, is that it put me in the frame of mind to do my own inner work. And then it forced me to think about core problems that I was having for myself. So the reason I got into e-commerce was because I had wanted to create content and still be able to sell smartphones. And I could not afford to keep my store, right? So if you guys listen to episode 1, a digipreneur was born, I kind of, break into my whole story as to how I got started. But I could not afford to keep the store back in 2018 with everything that I had going on. I had to make a decision, right? And so e-commerce, changing my business model into an e-commerce platform allowed me to still create content because the content was taking off and it was giving me a lot of traction, right? And because I was creating a lot of content back in those times, I wasn't always physically in the store. But the more content I created was the more people heard about me, seen me, and then wanted to purchase from me. And they were coming to the physical store, but I was almost never there, right? So that was a part of the reason why it helped me kind of rethink as to how I was going to approach this business, so that when I finally got the call from a couple of companies that I was working with, and they were now putting money in my pockets to create content, and I realized, wait a minute, monetizing my own intellectual property is a heck of a lot more beneficial because now I'm just trading. Now, the overheads that I have are not the same thing as having a physical store. So it forced me to rethink how I do business, right? Create the content, I'm getting the awareness, but if I remove the physical store and I focus and I double down on the content creation, well, the overheads are lower. And then that made me, and then because people were still reaching out to purchase the products, I realized that there's still money to be made there. So that's where the idea of turning my blog platform into an e-commerce platform really came from. That way I could create the content, I could blog, I could do the videos, get them on my website, have the YouTube channel, and then push the traffic to my website, and people would still be able to purchase the products. And then I would employ a drop shipping model, so I wouldn't even have to stock the products. I would simply, as the orders came in, I would order the phones from my suppliers and then have them delivered out to my clients. And it turned into this beautiful harmony where, again, I'm creating content, educating people on smartphone technology, but then I don't have the overheads of a physical store, and I also don't have to stock the products. And because I'm building my name and I'm talking about a variety of things and I'm building that trust, people were trusting me to be able to go to my website and order the products and trust that it would be delivered to them. So it worked out pretty well. Now, e-commerce is also the lowest hanging fruit for passive income. And for those who don't have startup funds, this can really change lives. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to have a physical store, because guess what? When me and my ex at the time, when we sat down and we, planned out, how to, get the store started, we pulled our funds together and we went out and we spent over $100K, renovating the store, fixing it up, yada, yada, yada. Then you have rent, and you have, internet, and you have all these expenses that come with it, right? I'm glad I got to see that, because it made e-commerce that much sweeter for me. It made drop shipping that much sweeter for me, because when knowing what I know now, right? As much as it took me over, $100K to get the store up and running, when I had to convert my blog into an e-commerce website, that costed me to implement the processor, to implement payment processing on the website. It cost me nothing. It cost me nothing to implement the payment processor on my website. E-commerce also cost me nothing to have an e-commerce ready website. Now, what I pay to keep the website up and running, at the time, it was $5 US. But then me and my hosting company, we got a working relationship. I work with them, I do stuff with them, and then I ended up getting I don't pay hosting fees. So I haven't paid some hosting fees for some years, right? And so my Droid Island website, e-commerce ready, hasn't costed me anything for several years at this point, right? So, but what I did do was I had rebuilt my website at that point in time. When I was closing down the store, I decided I was going to rebuild it, and to rebuild my website. Now, I learned the skills to build WordPress websites. So to rebuild it, the website rebuilt cost me about $300 to $400 TT dollars to rebuild the website. All right, $300 to $400 TT dollars to rebuild the website. To integrate e-commerce, that costed nothing. And you just see the stark difference. $100K plus to build out a store, and let's just say if I was building the website from scratch, that website from scratch would have costed me $300 to $400 TT to put together. And then implement the e-commerce costed me nothing, because the payment processor that I use WePay. So WePay doesn't charge you any fees for their plugins. So you upload that, doesn't cost you anything to do that, and they don't charge you a monthly fee either, right? And then I learned how to upload my own products, Once you learn how to upload your own products, the biggest problem with e-commerce websites is that, people charge you, they make this into a very big thing. Oh, it's e-commerce. To implement the processor is a lot, and to upload products is a lot. What you're really paying for is you're paying for people's time. So whatever they value their time at, that's what they're charging you. But to actually install a payment processor, for the most part, it doesn't cost you anything. If you want to install PayPal on your website, it doesn't cost you anything. PayPal doesn't charge you to install their payment processor on their website, and it doesn't cost you anything to upload products. All right, so it's really, you're just paying for people's time. So once I learned that skill, it cost me next to nothing to rebuild this website, compared to spending the money for a physical store. So I'm super glad that I went through that, because once I did both, I realized, oh wow, people could really get into e-commerce and start now. Whereas before, when you had a physical store, yes, capital kills more dreams than anything else. All right, if you don't have the capital, you can't go out and get a physical store. However, with e-commerce, if you learn that skill for yourself, then you could start almost immediately. And you could start small and start to make some side income. So I'm super glad that I was able to experience both ways. But yeah, like again, just that was a big lesson for me. And because I was constantly creating content and I seen how that used to drive business to the store and build up my name, that was huge for me. And then the reason why I brought up, being able to do my own inner work, because in the beginning, even starting Droid Island, I had to figure out, what was I passionate about? What did I like to do? And because I was into technology from a very young age, because I was working in telecom since I was 19, and I loved, the smartphone technology, I loved teaching. All of these things just kind of came together, and I've always had fun teaching people how to utilize their smartphone technology within their business and also their personal lives, and use these tools to help enrich their lives. So putting that all together was really dope, was really fun. And that was a long-winded lesson number one, right? Number two. The second reason, that I want to share with you as to why becoming a business content creator was a great business decision for me. Number two is because when more people began asking me how I built my Droid Island business, I began researching more into their problems, and I started to create content that answered their questions. This opened up more opportunities for me and shifted my brand into a needs-based business. There was also a major gap because to this day, people are not creating content for the Caribbean with respects to business. Caribbean people create generalized content. And they do this so that they could be noticed by the outside world, whether they're doing it for validation or to gain opportunities to move out. Some also don't want to educate their audience and give opportunities for their competition to study them. These opportunities have allowed me to get into things like public speaking. And I mean, it's amazing to say that I'm an international speaker. That has a nice little ring to it, don't you think? But it's afforded me that opportunity. It has allowed me to become a workshop facilitator, a blogger, a podcaster, a live streamer. These things have opened up opportunities for me that have now afforded me a lifestyle that I want to live. So because more people were asking me, hey, how did you do this in Droid Island, right? I decided I was going to create KarenRose.com. And that was supposed to be a space for me to blog about becoming an entrepreneur in the Caribbean and moving from Canada, where I've lived my whole life, and making this big change and coming to Trinidad and Tobago. KarenRose.com was initially created so that I could share my journey, because the majority of people that I know and talk to are in Canada. So I wanted to kind of, show to people in the diaspora what it would be like to move to the Caribbean at this day and age, and some of the things that you can do. So that was the original intent of KarenRose.com. But because people kept asking me, how I did this, how I did that within Droid Island, I didn't have a space to really put that information out there. And I didn't want to just put it on social media, because social media is not indexable, meaning it's not searchable, meaning people cannot type in a question into Google and your specific Instagram post or Facebook post or LinkedIn post comes up with the answer. That's not how social media works, right? So I didn't want to just put my journey out on social media. And also, it's rented land, right? A post could violate community rules. Zucks could wake up and say, yeah, I ain't feeling your your IG channel today. We shutting that down, right? So I didn't wanna build this on social media, on rented land. I use social media, I leverage it to drive it back to my own platforms, but I didn't want to just put my whole journey on social media and leave it there. I wanted this thing to be found. And then because I had built Droid Island, I learned skills. I learned how to build websites. I learned how to do SEO. I knew that I could take KarenRose.com, take a look at the questions I'm being asked, and then I could do more research based on data and see what other questions people are asking and put it onto my website, have it optimized. And then when people are conducting their searches, I know that my content would come up. And so said, so done. So because I used KarenRose.com, and instead of, just documenting my journey, I started to answer more questions about, digital entrepreneurship, online business, e-commerce, anything related to digital and building your brand, building your platform, monetizing it, and creating e-commerce opportunities within your business. I put that on KarenRose.com, and that just took on a whole life of its own, and it blew up. Companies started to reach out. People started to reach out. People wanted to reach out to talk to me or have me interview them. People wanted to come on my platforms to launch new products and services. So it really gave me, creating that business content, really created all of the opportunities that I have to this day. And it allowed me to transform my life into becoming a digital nomad. It allowed me to effectively be able to work from a laptop and a computer. And again, timing was right. Timing is everything, because before the pandemic, even though people were still focused on driving traffic more to their physical locations, people still understood that, hey, I want to build online, right? I still want to be found online. So they still found my content appealing. But when the pandemic hit, it's like, the attention and the awareness for the things I've been speaking about since 2018, blew up. It blew up. The pandemic blew everything up, because now, if people were never taking, digital entrepreneurship seriously, or, again, building online, learning how to create digital products and digital services, if they were not focused on that before, the pandemic obviously flipped that all on its head, and it again created even more opportunities for me. So at that point in time, by the time 2020 hit, I had 2 years worth of online business content in the bank. So when people are Googling, hey, how do you get paid online in the Caribbean? How do you get paid online in Trinidad? My content is coming up, and it's been there. And because it's been there for so long, people started to binge on my content, right? Because again, we have a few years worth of content back in the day. And then before 2018, we have Droid Island content. So I have a body of work that people could say, hey, this guy is trustworthy because we know this guy from Droid Island. And Droid Island was doing a lot of big things from 2016 come right up. So I have built, a company, I have built something, and I have showcased that I know what I'm talking about. And there's proof of that because I have another business. My business wasn't, I just came out trying to sell you on e-commerce. No, my business was Droid Island. And because I learned all these skill sets for my own business, because people seen the success of Droid Island and they wanted to incorporate some of those pieces into their own business, that is why I was able to transition into what I am doing right now, right? So creating that business content generated, these big opportunities where, now I've spoken at over 100 events in different countries. I facilitated workshops across the region and in the US and Canada. My blogs in totality, I think we're coming up to almost 2 million views of my blogs. And I got to double check that because I think we may have crossed 2 million, but don't quote me just yet. But I know we're approaching 2 million reads on our blogs on the website. Now we're podcasting, and I mean this is a whole vibe. This is fun, and the only thing I probably like more than podcasting is live streaming. I think being able to interact with the audience live, and bring all of the different pieces of technology together and create a nice live experience. I think is so much fun to me, right? And again, those things that the podcasts, the live streams, those things are attracting more and more and more opportunities. So again, creating that content has definitely paid off business-wise, because guess what? We're eating. We ain't rich yet. We ain't hit the milli yet, but we all right. We doing okay. This is definitely when I look at what we're making for everything that we're doing now. I can see that we are on the right path, and this was definitely a great business decision to create business content. Number 3. And I may have touched on this in my previous point, but let's see. Creating business content transformed my platform to the go-to resource center for all things digital entrepreneurship and e-commerce in the region. So the fact that when you hear the words e-commerce or online business or building online or discoverability in the Caribbean, my name is I don't know if I want to say quickly, but it's getting up there. It's getting up there where when people hear those words, I'm one of the first names, if not the first name that comes to mind when people hear those particular words in this respective space. So because that has happened, the opportunities that are flowing, a lot of them flow to me. A lot of them flow to me first, and even if people are not sure as to, hey, they're looking to get the speaker for something, they don't know if this is something I talk about or if I could recommend somebody. The fact that people are still even checking in to see if this is something that I would do or participate in, or, hey, I know you say you don't do this, but I know somebody that will speak to a certain thing. Can we have that conversation? So the fact that, again, the platform is becoming a go-to resource is big because the opportunities flow. When you are the go-to resource person in your space, the go-to resource platform, even when you are not actively seeking opportunities, the opportunities come to you because you are top of mind. So again, you want to create the business content, position your brand, position yourself, position your business as the leader in your space. And you do that by creating content and showcasing your expertise and also your stance on that respective space. And then when people are looking to do business with you, or they need somebody to jump on a panel or to conduct a workshop, you are going to be top of mind. You're going to be one of the first people that they reach out to. And again, just being able to attract opportunities without always having to actively go out and attract opportunities is critical for your business success. Because, man, I'll tell you this, it takes a lot of time and energy to, create content and to market and to do all this stuff. It takes time, all right? If you have been listening to the podcast, for a few episodes, you guys will realize none of my episodes are short. Half the time, my episodes are between 40 minutes and an hour, right? So that is, time to jump out and do that and then edit it and do all the other things that are associated with, promoting the content and putting it out there and yada, yada, yada. So when you get the opportunity where you get a phone call or you wake up and you see an email saying, hey, we want to book you. Here's our budget, or what's your fee, X, Y, and Z. We want you to come. And you realize that you did not need to put something out there to directly get that opportunity. And the opportunities are coming to you because you are just the go-to resource. You're the go-to person in that space. again, it's a great reason why to start creating content for your business today. Number 4. So the fourth reason why becoming a business content creator was a great business decision for me is this also gave me a higher sense of purpose, because truthfully, I'm not telling you to just go out and get a website or to create content. What I'm doing is I'm helping to guide people in a region that has never before needed to be digital and to do things differently. I'm helping them to guide an entirely new way of life. I am also helping those in the diaspora who have dreams of living in the Caribbean see that it can be done and learn about the tools and the mechanisms to be able to do that. So again, this has been, it's been huge because more often than not, what you may or may not know, but in the diaspora, living in Canada, living in the US, living in the UK is no walk in the park. The cost of living is 10 times higher than what it is in the Caribbean. We're not always treated equally and fairly, and I mean that's well documented throughout history. And many of us, especially the millennials, want to travel. They want to be in a position where, they could live a nice, healthy, fun life and do the things that they love, and not have to stress about just being a person of color in some of these countries. So we are constantly looking for different opportunities around the world. And because many of us are of Caribbean descent or were born in the Caribbean and moved over there when we were younger, because there is a lack of information in the public space that are showcasing people actually not just doing well here, but showing you how to do it and showing you what's available. If you're in Toronto, if you're in, not just Toronto, but if you're anywhere, if you are even thinking about moving to the Caribbean, right? Where do you even go to figure out what kind of opportunities are available for you? There's nowhere to go. Forget the job postings, right? We're not even talking about that. But there's nowhere to go to show, what is what. Does a PayPal work over here? Can I start an online business? How to properly register a business within a particular country, because the majority of the government websites are all out of date and lack all the necessary information. You walk into banks, you walk into some of these institutions with the exact requirements listed on their website, and then these people tell you in person, hey, this is old stuff. This is no longer relevant. So it's not easy for people to even, think about the Caribbean as an option, because when we go about looking for information online, information is not there. So I know for me, I wanted to create a platform that kind of educated people and showed them that it is possible. And here are the things that are available to us, and here's how to go about doing it. And I still have a lot of work to do. I know that I could do a lot better, but I mean, we've started. We've started, and I won't be too hard on myself. We've started, and that again, and just being able to kind of have that platform and work towards that goal. I would love to see more people in the diaspora move back and do so confidently, and see that there's opportunities to be had in the Caribbean, because we don't really think that the Caribbean has opportunities. We just hear about all the people that live here complaining and wanting to move and this, that, and the third. But people in the Caribbean don't know the kind of hassle and headaches that await them in first world countries. Many of us would love to move back. We just don't know how to. And because the only point of reference and the only information we can get is asking a friend or family member who lives in the Caribbean. And when they come back and tell you, you know, it's pain and there's no opportunities and all they have is negative things to say, then obviously people in the diaspora are not going to be jumping to move back. But the reality is that many of the people in the region have not been exposed to know what opportunities even look like that can be had right here. And digital changes everything. We aren't thinking about all the new technology that, you know, the telecommunications companies are bringing out, that the new fintech companies that have launched. We're not even thinking about how to leverage those tools and these platforms to create our opportunities for our own selves. We have not been exposed in the region. The region has not been exposed to what that looks like on the outside, so they cannot identify what opportunities are present right here, right now. However, people in the diaspora can. However, when they call back to Jamaica, when they call back to Trinidad and Barbados and everybody is screaming, yo, it's pain, no opportunities, then obviously people are not going to, you know, be jumping to move back and come back and be a part of pushing the region forward. And I really believe that in order for the region to move forward, we need to foster greater relations with the diaspora, and we desperately need more of our Caribbean folk in the diaspora to move back and push for changes here in the region. People are going to listen to this and they're going to complain, oh my God, it's not that easy. Yes, nothing is easy. Change is not easy, period. There's no one, we're not delusional about that. Nothing is easy. However, it still needs to happen. People in the diaspora have been exposed to a heck of a lot more, and they can come back and be a part of the change and help teach. And we have so many creative people here who, you know, have their own solutions that can, once we can gel together, we could do some magic. But again, we need more of the people in the diaspora moving back and being a part of this change as well. So, number 5, last but not least, why? The 5th reason why becoming a business content creator was a great business decision for me was creating business content means that I will also never struggle for content. Things are always changing and people will always have problems that need to be solved. What I need to keep focusing on is to be aware of what is happening globally, regionally, and within my country. I then have to look at what overlaps and then see where our gaps are and to constantly provide solutions that fit within the context of the Caribbean audience. One of the reasons why I've wanted to learn SEO, and it's something that I keep on taking courses for. I follow a lot of SEO specialists, is because the tools that SEO specialists are exposed to, and now in 2021, where the search engines are focused a lot more on content, and what you're going to see a lot of now is a lot of the courses for SEO specialists have been blended with content marketing, is because the tools that you are exposed to in SEO and as an SEO specialist give you data on the audience that you're trying to serve. So the more, once you learn how to mine the data and extract that from the search engines, that is the grounds for all content. So because as a business content creator, remember, as a business, your primary focus of any business is to solve a problem, right? So when you are a business owner and you've learned how to do some SEO yourself, or maybe somebody in your organization is doing it, the new age SEO specialists are also content marketers. So when we start to mine the data, we can see all of the problems that the people within our industry in a specific country are having. And once you can see that, then automatically you start to think about all the different ways that you can create content to now serve your audience. And because our niches are always changing, they're always evolving, as a business content creator, you are constantly thinking about, how can I solve your problem? What are your problems? And not just asking on social media, But as an SEO specialist, you start to mine that data. You want to learn exactly how they're asking particular questions, what is the context of the problems that they are having. And as a content marketer, your job now is to start thinking about, what type of content you can create to solve your audience's problems. So again, as a business content creator, as a budding, as an amateur SEO specialist, and as a content marketer, you just never run out of content because you are always thinking about how can I get more data on what our audience's problems are and how can I create the content to solve their problems. And once you are solving people's problems and creating content, that is going to, and you make it searchable when you create the content, you have it optimized on platforms that allow for search, like your websites, the YouTube channels. When people have a problem and they Google and your content is what is coming up and it is solving their particular problem that they are having, then that means more leads for you. That means more traffic to your platforms, and more traffic equals more business opportunities. And obviously, the more business opportunities you get is the more chances you have as to generating revenue and getting a profit for yourself. So that, folks, is my 5 reasons as to why becoming a business content creator was a great business decision for me. It has allowed me to change my lifestyle, giving me the opportunity to be a digital entrepreneur where I can work from any and everywhere once I have a computer and an internet connection. It has given me a higher sense of purpose because now I'm part of a new way of life. I'm helping people create their own livelihood through leveraging technology and being able to work from any and everywhere. But not just that, for people who do not have the resources and the monies to go and launch these major businesses, learning how to leverage digital technology is now a lower barrier to entry into starting a business that can either give you a side income or a full income. So being a part of that journey and teaching people who don't always have the means to be able to earn for themselves and turn away, because I've talked about in the past, my own issues that I've had growing up, my run-ins with the law and whatnot. The fact that I can be a part of something where we are now teaching people a different way of life, where even if you do not have the resources available to you, you can still leverage a smartphone and earn money and turn away from a life of even thinking about going down the wrong road. To me, there's a special place in my heart for that. Being able to now do things like, being a speaker and speaking at events across the world, facilitating workshops across the world, being able to, just see some of the comments and the feedback that I get on the content that we put out, where people are like, yo, this was the missing piece of information that has now changed my life. Listen, that has a special place in my heart. That has a special place in my heart. And most importantly, finally being able to be in a region where, I can have a sense of pride. I'm not being subjected to a lot of the racial profiling that happens in a lot of the other countries. Being a person of color, being here in the Caribbean, being amongst people that look like me, and just not feeling like I have a ceiling in the Caribbean. Because being in Canada, there was a constant reminder that you have a ceiling, right? Which is why we keep hearing in 2021, hey, this is the first black person to do this. This is the first black person to do that. And you're like, wow, 2021, black people are still doing first? Because we have a ceiling in these countries, which is why when somebody's the first, it's still a big deal in 2021, right? And it's for like things that you would expect we would have, surpassed a long time ago. Like I think last year I seen, hey, this was the first black female to become a captain in this airline company. And I was like, wow, in 2020, we haven't had a black captain female as yet, but again, we still have all these barriers that we are breaking through. So being in the Caribbean, I don't feel like I have barriers. I feel like as long as I want to do something, I can do it. And I'm not going to be stopped because of the color of my skin. And that gives me a sense of security and freedom to go out and just create and be great versus worrying about, living in Canada, living in the US, persons of color don't always want to say that they own the business because they would like to put a more, quote unquote, friendlier face out to the market in order to attract business. We don't have that issue in the Caribbean. So again, that gives me a sense of freedom and security for me to be able to just tap into my own wildest dreams and go out and create. And I have a lot of fun doing that. And because I have a lot of fun doing that, because I have that security and freedom that I know I could go out and create, is why I've been able to create the best work that I've been able to do that. And because I've been creating the best work that I've ever been doing, guess what? The opportunities are flowing as well. So folks, that is it for me today. That is my episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please feel free to rate the podcast on any of the podcast directories that you listen to the podcast from. As always, I ask, please, if you can, drop a review. The reviews are what helps the channel grow. It helps the podcast grow and it encourages other listeners to, tune in to the Digipreneur FM podcast and join the Digi family. If you guys have any questions, if you guys want to reach out to say, hey, feel free to do so on any of the social media platforms. I am Karen Rose everywhere. And yeah, that is it from me today. I hope to see you guys in the next one. You guys be safe and take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Karen Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Karen Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.